Okay, so you've built a new app. Now what? Your first users, they are everything. But finding the right ones, that can feel totally impossible. Today, we're going to break down a blueprint for finding not just any random testers, but true partners who can actually prove your app's core value. This is some seriously strategic stuff. So that brings us to the big question, right? For your new app, who is that perfect first user? I mean, is it just your friends and family? Or should you be looking for someone way more specific? The answer, and this is key, could completely change how you launch your product.
And boom, here it is. This is the core philosophy right here. You are not looking for people to just, kick the tires and tell you the button color is weird. No, you're looking for a very specific group, people for whom energy change is actually important. This is the fundamental shift in mindset. It's about finding people whose lives genuinely depend on what your app does.
All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start by really nailing down who that perfect user is. Then we'll get into the 3 golden rules for finding them. After that, we'll meet some ideal groups, or cohorts, walk through a practical 21-day plan, and wrap up by defining what success actually looks like. Simple.
Okay, Section 1, Finding the Perfect User. This is all about moving from that spray-and-pray approach of random testers to being super strategic about finding real partners.
And you can really see the difference here, can't you? On one side, you've got the wrong user. They give you just noise. Unhelpful feedback, they try the app once and poof, they're gone. But the right user? Oh man, they give you clear signals. They have a real burning need for what you're building. They're invested.
So, how in the world do you find these people? Well, thankfully, there's a simple framework for it. Let's get into the 3 golden rules that will help you identify your ideal first users. Okay, these 3 rules are like totally non-negotiable. First, your user has to have a target day. Think a huge presentation, a final exam, a marathon, something with real stakes. That's how you prove your app is useful when it counts. Second, their biosignals, their sleep, heart rate, whatever, have to fluctuate. I mean, if everything is flat, your AI has nothing to learn from, right? And finally, and this is huge, they have to be willing to actually do what the app suggests. If they won't make interventions, you can't prove your app actually works. Simple as that. All right, so with those rules in our back pocket, let's get practical. It's time to meet the 3 ideal groups, or cohorts, that perfectly fit this description. First up on our list, the knowledge worker. We're talking about managers, consultants, researchers, anyone whose job relies on their brain being switched on all day. So why are they such a perfect fit? Well, they get those dreaded afternoon energy crashes all the time, and they're constantly up against high-stakes deadlines. This is a goldmine for testing your app's crash detection and prediction features. But here's the real genius part. If you can prove your app works for them, you can use that as a case study to go after big B2B partnerships. This test isn't just about getting feedback. It's a direct line to landing your first major corporate client. Okay, our second ideal group, the student. Specifically, we're talking about university students who are in that constant cycle of exams, papers, and presentations. Now, students are absolutely perfect because their target days, those big exams, are so predictable and frequent. This makes them the ideal group for validating your core user loop. Think about it. Can you show them that a small change in their habits leads to better energy? And if you can, does that make them stick around? This is where you get your most critical data on user retention. And for our third and final group, let's talk about the endurance athlete. These are the folks training for things like marathons, triathlons, you name it. What's so brilliant about athletes is that the data they produce is incredibly clean. The connection between what they eat, how they sleep, how they train, and how they perform, it's super direct. There's a clear cause and effect. This makes them the absolute best cohort for really testing and sharpening the accuracy of your predictive models and proving that your app's suggestions have a real, tangible impact on performance. Okay, awesome. So, we have our rules, and we know exactly who we're looking for. Now, let's get down to brass tacks and walk through the actual plan for a successful test, the 21-day blueprint. The key here is to stay focused. You don't need to go find a dozen different groups of people. Just start with 3 distinct cohorts. That's all you need to get clear, diverse signals without getting overwhelmed. And you don't need to recruit hundreds of testers either. The sweet spot is right around 60 people in total. That's enough to see real patterns in the data, but it's still a small enough group for a young team to manage personally.
And this one is so important. You have to run the test for a minimum of 21 days for each user. Why? Because that gives you enough time to see real habits form, and most crucially, it all but guarantees you'll capture at least one of their high-stakes target days in action.
All right, last section. How do you actually know if any of this is working? This brings us to the most important part, defining what success looks like by focusing on the metrics that truly, truly matter.
And this just lays it out so clearly. Success is not about how many people opened the app today. No way. It's about retention. Are they still with you after 7 days? What about 21 days? Are they logging their data every single day? Are they actually confirming the app's insights? That's what HITL response rate means. Are they closing the loop by inputting their sleep and energy data the next day? And maybe most importantly, do they even understand what the app is telling them? That's what you measure with a simple clarity score.
So, if you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. Your first users are not there to test your buttons. They are there to prove your entire premise. They are your most important strategic asset, so choose them wisely.